Ever wondered why you fell in love with your partner rather than someone else? Why love can make us go weak at the knees or can fade and be replaced with adultery and divorce? Well, Dr. Helen Fisher has the answers to these questions. She's an anthropologist and advisor to chemistry.com, and now she's turning her attention to chemistry on the campaign trail. Yes. Dr. Fisher, great to have you with us.
I'm delighted to be with you.
So Helen, tell us why someone who is an expert on romantic love can also analyze chemistry on the campaign trail. What do they have in common?
Because in my work for chemistry.com, there's two parts of personality. There's your character, what you grew up to learn, and your temperament, the biological underpinnings of who you are. And by looking at the genetics, a lot of genetics, I've come to believe that we've evolved four very broad personality styles. And at chemistry.com, I was watching how these people gravitate to who they love. And in our candidates, I'm just looking at their temperament. And you can know a lot about, at least 50% of personality does have biological origins. And it's very interesting how Obama has a very different biological type than McCain. And there's a lot of you can know about these two men just from knowing something about genetics.
Fascinating. Well, there are a lot of pairings, not romantic pairings, but professional pairings on the campaign trail. So let's look at the chemistry between the candidates and their running mates. And many people have observed that Sarah Palin energizes the crowds that she speaks to, and she also energizes John McCain. So how important is chemistry in making that happen?
I don't think in the president and the vice president, the chemistry between the two of them is very important. But what's interesting is she's very different from the other three candidates. She is what I would call the builder type, the high serotonin type. These people tend to be very moralistic. They're really quite stubborn. They're very traditional. They have very traditional values. They tend to be religious. We know which part of the serotonin system some of the genes for religiosity are. They insist on loyalty. In fact, as you drive up serotonin, your creativity and your curiosity goes down. She's a lot like George Bush. I mean, she's that same temperament type.
All right, now we note with Sarah Palin, for example, on the abortion issue, that she has, you mentioned religiosity there, and of course she takes her religious principles and applies them also to her social principles. Joe Biden might be in contrast to that. He says his religious beliefs lead him to believe that life starts at conception, but he doesn't want to impose that on others. So he, I take it, is different.
He's very different. He exhibits a lot of the characteristics of the high testosterone type, what I call the director. They're tough-minded, they're direct, they're decisive, they're very tolerant of other people. They act quickly. They can often be very blunt, which he can be at times. And they're very autonomous, and they want other people to be autonomous too. So he's the kind of guy they're very focused, they can be very assertive, very aggressive. Actually, he'll probably be a very good combination with Obama. He will bring to Obama some of the characteristics that I think Obama needs, and I think that Obama will temper his characteristics. That actually would probably be a very good combination.
Well, we've seen a lot of sort of chemistry, if you will, between Biden and Obama. They tend to stand close to one another at campaign events. Their arms around one another. Often they seem very natural together. Helen, what about the chemistry between the candidates and the voting public? It's said that voting is a very emotional decision, that you have to connect with your candidate.
Well, the one that, of these four types, there's those associated with the chemical dopamine, serotonin, testosterone, and estrogen. And Obama is the only one that expresses a lot of the traits of the high dopamine type of personality. He's very curious, he's very creative, or let's say this personality type is. They tend to be mentally flexible, very adaptable, and they're very comfortable in their skin. They also have a lot of facial expression, the most of all the group. And so you can see how Obama moves with sort of a grace that is characteristic of the high dopamine type. And that tends to be the charismatic type. This is what John F. Kennedy was, and this is probably what Obama is. Whereas McCain is also the high testosterone type. And you could see actually this morning, people who have expressed a lot of testosterone, men and women, have a very strong jawline, which he has, and a very heavy brow ridge, and sometimes a very heavy zygomatic arch. This part of the face. And of course, McCain was also a fighter pilot. The director type, the testosterone type, is very aggressive. They're very assertive. They're very autonomous. In fact, the word maverick is the right word for McCain, and change is the right word for Obama. I've looked at 178,000 people on chemistry.com to see what words that these four types use. And the high dopamine type, the Obama type, tends to use the word change, new, creative, exciting. The high testosterone type, McCain, tends to use the word politics, ambition. They're also very bold. But these men come to the job with very different kinds of traits. I think that a lot of people will be personally drawn to the Obama type because this type is so charismatic. But then, of course, there's all of your personal beliefs.